A city built on Ohlone shell mounds, that became the world's busiest port, then birthed a revolution. This is Oakland, where railroad tycoons and Black Panthers walked the same streets, where shipbuilders and tech workers shaped different centuries. The history of Oakland isn't just California's story, it's America's unfinished conversation about power, justice, and who gets to call a city home. Whispers beneath the waters of Lake Merritt. Long before the city of Oakland rose from the earth, a quiet world thrived along the shimmering edges of Lake Merritt and the winding Temescal Creek. Here, the Huchiun people, ancient stewards of the land, walked gently upon the soil, their lives woven into the rhythms of the tides and the rustle of coastal winds. Known to the world only later as the Ohlone, Western people. These descendants of a forgotten dawn sang to the stars and danced with the seasons for thousands of years. Their stories now linger like echoes through the mists of the bay, waiting to be heard beneath the surface of the city's modern soul. The Oak Grove betrayed. From the proud hands of empire to the cruel grip of deception, the land that would become Oakland passed through fire and shadow. First claimed for the Spanish crown in 1772, this fertile stretch, then called Enciner the Oak Grove, was gifted to Don Luis Maria Peralta, who watched over it as a patriarch of peace under both Spanish and later Mexican rule. His sons inherited the legacy, their rancho sprawling across a golden East Bay. But with the end of the Mexican-American War and the dawn of American dominion, their ancestral claim unraveled. Greedy squatters ravaged the orchards, slaughtered the livestock and tore apart the Peralta family's legacy with blade and fire. Most treacherous of all was Horace Carpentier, a cunning attorney who cloaked betrayal in legal ink, stealing 19,000 acres with a twisted document masked as a lease. The Oak Grove that once sheltered generations of Peraltas now bore silent witness to a new kind of conquest, one not of soldiers but of schemes and shadows. Gold dust and ghosts of rail, Oakland awakens. Out of cattle trails and ambition, Oakland emerged, a raw, restless town carved from the oak-shaded hills by three men chasing fortune. Among them, Horace Carpentier, a figure both founder and fraud, rose to become its first mayor before scandal dragged him from power. By 1852, the fledgling settlement, just a cluster of hotels, warehouses and wharves, had claimed its name and spirit. As gold fever gripped California, Oakland's growth surged, fueled by dreams and desperation. Chinese migrants fleeing war and poverty arrived in waves, only to find their hopes scorched by prejudice and fire. Yet the city pressed on, its destiny tied to iron rails and electric sparks. The Central Pacific's Long Wharf became a gateway to the West, and by the 1890s streetcars stitched the land together like veins of progress. Beneath the booming tracks and rising towers, however, lingered echoes of injustice and resilience, whispers of a city forever chasing its reflection in the shining waters of the bay. The sickness beneath the surface. In the early 20th century, as Oakland pushed forward with industrial promise, a silent terror crept into its streets, one that could not be paved over or built around. The city, bustling with ships and smoke, became a battleground in the war against the San Francisco plague, as rats and squirrels became harbingers of death. Thousands were detained, vessels inspected, and hunters dispatched to poison the shadows. Yet with only meager funds and too few hospitals, fear seeped into homes where the infected were left to suffer in isolation. In 1919, plague returned with a cruel twist, this time in the lungs. It began with a man's fatal meal, a squirrel from Contra Costa Valley. Within days, a dozen lives were claimed. Death certificates became the city's final line of defense, documenting not only the dead, but a city fighting to hold back an invisible tide. Beneath Oakland's grit and growth lay a lingering vulnerability, proof that even progress could not silence nature's revenge. Ashes, quakes, and revolution, Oakland's trial by fire. From steel and smoke to fire and fury, Oakland's latter 20th century was a cauldron of resistance, tragedy, and rebirth. In 1960, the Kaiser skyscraper pierced the sky, a monument to modern ambition, yet below, the ground trembled with unrest. As wealth fled to the suburbs and segregation calcified in the city's streets, the Black Panther Party rose in defiance, born in classrooms and sharpened by injustice. Their presence electrified Oakland, challenging a system that too often crushed hope beneath a badge. But revolution came at a cost. The 1980s brought crack cocaine and chaos, drawing blood into the gutters and carving Oakland's name into the nation's most violent crime lists. Then came nature's wrath. The 1989 earthquake crumbled highways and hopes, followed by the 1991 firestorm that devoured entire neighborhoods in a wall of flame. Yet through smoke and sorrow the city did not fall. By the mid-1990s, Oakland stirred once more, its docks humming, its skyline rising, and its soul, scarred but unbroken, finding strength in survival. The price of progress. Oakland in the 21st century. In the dawn of a new century, Oakland stood at a crossroads, its skyline rising, but its soul increasingly fractured. Mayor Jerry Brown's vision of a revived downtown brought sleek towers and new life, but also waves of gentrification that pushed longtime residents into the margins. As rents soared and culture shifted, the black population dwindled, and the scars of systemic policing deepened. $57 million in abuse settlements marking a decade of civic reckoning. In 2011, anger found voice in Occupy Oakland, echoing from the pavement of Franco Plaza. Yet tragedy struck again in 2016, as fire consumed the ghost ship warehouse, claiming 36 lives and exposing the desperation of those clinging to the city's creative edge. Oakland also became a trailblazer, decriminalizing psilocybin in a move toward healing and autonomy. But even as activism surged, seen in the courage of Moms for Housing, the city wrestled with homelessness, a brutal pandemic toll, and the heartbreak of losing all three of its major league sports teams. In every headline and heartbreak, Oakland walked the tightrope between evolution and erasure, holding fiercely to its identity as a city forever fighting for its people. Oakland proves that cities are living arguments about memory, money, and who belongs. Now we want to hear your Oakland story. Family roots in the shipyards? Art scene memories? Or just love that town spirit? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for our next American City documentary.